And this is your One Word Wednesday. Today, I have one of my favorite teachers in the whole wide world. Her name is Jen. We're talking about something that's so near and dear to my heart. The word is tact. And the definition for tact is the ability to speak to someone in a way that's not offensive, but you're still getting your point across. Miss Northworthy, when you hear this, what do you think of when you hear the word tact?
Oh, tact is such a hard one because it can be done very positively and it can also be done very negatively. And that's why it's so important to really think about it consciously, because if you come at someone in the wrong way, you're going to offend them and you're going to shut down, you're going to put that wall up, and there goes all of it. It opens a whole other can of worms that you weren't planning on. So when I think of the idea of tact or being tactful, I think of meeting someone where they are, being aware of where they are, knowing that they're coming potentially from a different side, but being aware of that so that I can approach them in a way that's not going to be offensive, not going to turn them off. So for me, I grew up in the streets of Newport, not Newport like everybody knows today. I was fairly poor. A lot of us were poor. We were all poor. And so we had different things going on in life. But I was so lucky that I had a couple of people in my life at a young age approach me consciously and intentionally. And they approached me in a way that created that relationship with me. But that wouldn't have been able to be done if they had made me feel insignificant or less than. So because of them going that road with me, it allowed me to basically end up where I am today, because it allowed me to start to think, well, maybe I can do this, or maybe I can do that. Well, as a teacher, I have an important job, and I know that. And it's not about academics, and it's not about tests, and it's not about assessments. It's about kids, whether they be second graders or 16-year-olds. It's about kids. It's about the butts in my seat. And the only way to make a difference in this world is to start individually. So I'm very tactful in the way I try to approach my kids, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is relationships and rapport. Because if you can create that relationship and rapport, the rest comes to play. So I'm very tactful in the way that I go about that, because I need to meet them where they are. I need to jump in the trenches with them rather than throw the crap down at them how they're going to get better. I need to jump in the trenches with them and help guide them out, help them find their way out. And that can only be done by being genuine and intentional. You know, we rise as a society, we rise individually by lifting others. Well, I can only lift others when I get to know.
Hold on. I got to jump in real quick. I got to say something now. When I grew up, you talked about growing up being poor, right? When I grew up, I came from Connecticut to Cincinnati. When I came to Cincinnati, I was definitely not poor. I lived in the burbs. But the white people that I knew, well, not all of them, but some of them thought I was poor because I was black, right? And so I go into a school, right, with lunch money, and people were giving me free and reduced lunch. And I remember how offended I felt, you know, and how mad I was. But then I also found a way to speak to them in a way that had tact and be respectful, even though I felt disrespected, you know? And there's no disrespect to anybody on free lunch or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But I didn't even get to get talked to. There was no explanation as to where I am in the world. There's just this expectation, and that's how I'm going to be treated, and that's how they're going to speak to me. And as a kid, I'm supposed to respect them. And I learned at a young age that I could be tactful, telling the truth, right? But I could also say it in a way that's respectful and loving. Jen Northworthy, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, it's okay that people can disagree too. We just have to respect that other's opinion and not make assumptions.
Yes.
Assumptions are a very negative thing.
Now, what happens when someone makes an assumption about you? You know what I'm saying? Like, so we're talking about being tactful, right? If someone makes an assumption about you as a woman, as a person that used to be poor, you've had family issues, you're now a teacher. Like, when somebody makes an assumption about you, how do you continue to be tactful in this situation?
Well, I can choose one of two ways. I can either get mad and I can go into shutdown mode, or I can choose to be stronger and allow your challenge that you're giving me and your assumption and your untactfulness, if that's necessarily a word, to inspire me to be better.
Yeah.
So I'm like, come at me, because you know what? I'm going to be an even better person at the end of the day. Tell me I can't do something and I'm going to prove you wrong. Right. I'm going to stand up. And at the end of the day, it's all about kids. And that's what it is for me. So I am so careful about not making those assumptions that you experienced yourself or that I've experienced as well, because I was a poor girl from Newport. or because I was a single mother at one time.
Right.
Don't make an assumption about me. Be tactful and allow me the respect that I deserve.
Oh, I love that. You know what else is crazy too? Like I've been in situations where I've made assumptions and people were tactful with me. Like I've been disrespectful to teachers, to police officers, to leaders in multiple different ways, to pastors. Like I've been disrespectful, and there've been people in my life, the ones that are still there in my life, were the ones that were like, now hold on a second. Right? You know what I mean? Like let's have a conversation about this in love, because they saw more in me. And the cool thing is when I go into your class, that's one thing that I always see. Like even if your kids are being knuckleheads, like you see more in them than their current behavior. And because you see more in them, you talk to them that way. And you know what? I do that too. Oh man, I love this.
We
This
all have
is
baggage, but our baggage is not our destiny. Our baggage does not determine our outcome. We get to choose our outcome every single day.
right. Now I know we're going super far over time, but I got to ask you this next question.
Shocking.
When you see someone online, right, being disrespectful either towards you or other people that you love, I know this has to be a pretty quick answer for both of us, but how do you remain tactful when you see things that are disrespectful?
It is hard, especially right now in social media. It is very difficult. And I've been tested in this in the last few months with all the stuff that's happening and people voicing their opinions. And I have to be very careful too, because I'm a teacher, so I have to be very careful with what I say. But I've had to stand up and say to a couple of like former students that I care about and I love dearly, to say, you don't have to agree with me, but that's where the issue is. We need to open a dialogue, because nothing's going to change until two people can come together and talk about things without being offensive, by having tact and having a conversation that's real, that's genuine, and sometimes it's hard. And I have to be vulnerable and allow myself to be able to see a different perspective.
You said the V word. Let me
I
tell
did.
you, that word is not very popular, right? When
It's
I'm trying
hard.
to give my opinion, I don't even notice that I'm being vulnerable when I'm telling you my opinion. I don't
Yep.
even notice that. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of times the way that I try to react to it when I see things that I see is ignorant or disrespectful, right? In my mind, I'm like, this is a person that's hurting.
You're right.
And they're using this mode to hurt other people because they're hurting. It is not my job to satiate their hurt, but I could definitely listen and find out why.
Or they're unaware. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. You know, that kind of sounds kind of crazy. We don't know what we don't know, but you really don't know what you don't know. So until someone is actually able to have a conversation and talk about what we don't knows, nothing's going to change either. So it's
Right.
having an awareness and being vulnerable to see that awareness and maybe think, you know what, maybe there's another side to this. Not just my perspective. It's not just a white girl in the suburbs, it's
Right.
there's another side.
That's so true. And also, if I recognize that there's something that you don't know, I could actually use that to hurt you. Right.
Yeah.
So I have to be tactful in knowledge and knowing that my words have power. And so since my words do have power, especially you as a teacher, like you could break a child. You know what I'm saying? Like people don't even understand the laws, especially public school. You have to go to school. And so if you're my teacher, second bell for this semester, I could skip and get truancy, or I could be underneath your tutelage and you may be a horrible person.
And as a teacher, I have more power to ultimately have an impact on society than a lot of the things that are being shown, because I have kids in my classroom and I can coerce them in ways, whether it's intentional or unintentional. So my words have power, and they also have power in a positive way, because I can also say, look, let's talk about this. This is an ugly conversation and it's hard to have, but that's okay. And as you can tell, I'm a teacher because we just had the bell. But yeah, like words are so powerful. Words are the most powerful tool that we have in this entire world. You can take my job, you can take my house, you can take all these things, but there are a few things that you can't take away from me. One is you can't take away what I've learned, and two, you can't take away my words. You might be able to censor them, but you can't take away my words completely. Words are so powerful.
So I got to say, this is Nick Jackson. I run Speak Love. And today we're talking about tact. And there's no better way to close it than how you just did it. So Jen Norsworthy, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Nick.
Much love, everybody. Speak love to one another and yourself.